Was it okay? It was a fun show. No, nothing was that.
Any preference for solutions?
Yes, what we're doing is taking what Phyllis Bennett called a five-fold struggle between Iran and Saudi Arabia, between Sunni and Shiite, between Western and between American and Russian interests, and there's a couple of other layers. It's an entire mess, and to escalate it and to throw bombs at it is, our friend said, a little too late. Actually, what it is any use of military force is too little too late, because we're not really trying to deal with each other in a way that respects human rights and gives us a chance to all survive.
UN. So the permanent members cannot put a veto on the consensus of majority. That is a big thing. The resolutions that are passed in the UN are PR, they're covering, they're for domestic use. They're not effective in international diplomacy. They are manipulated by the structural way that the few post-World War II countries who were the victors control the system, so they can stop anything to their sovereign nation's disinterest. So we need to restructure the UN. We need to revisit the legitimacy of the International Court of Justice, where not only the losing or small nations have brought up because they don't kowtow to the major industrial nations' decisions, but have the International Court have teeth in it. So even the American combat soldier who does war crimes is accountable. These are the big picture changes, structural changes that can be done. Individually, it's not accepting the media as you hear, see, and often are massaged into believing it. Develop your own independent media. Develop a sense of looking at the media from commission and omission. What is not being said? Why isn't it being said? And what is being said? Why is it being said at that way? And for what reason at this point in time? And moreover, care about you as an individual making a difference. It's possible. We have made a difference. A small group making a big difference over a long-term problem. It does take optimism and forthright follow-through.
But I think one thing Americans can do is they can organize and insist that problems in this country get solved. The only way to solve problems in this country is to dismantle the militarist state, is to dismantle the police state.
There you go.
My children, my grandchildren are being stuffed into closets and bathrooms in active shooter drills every week, sometimes twice in a day. They walk into bathrooms and comment on whether that could hold their whole class. This is what we're facing in this country. We are being militarized, we are being beaten into submission, we are told to censor ourselves. The wealth of this country that is being spilled in the Middle East, to coming home and addressing our problems.
And we have many problems. So why are we in the Middle East to begin with? Why are we the police of the world?
Who owns the mass media? Who owns MSNBC? It's the giant war corporations.
General Electric.
They are all.
We also have to talk about the welfare of Syrians and Iraqis and Iranians and even citizens of Saudi Arabia. We're like an elephant that is stampeding every place around. We're an elephant that just stampedes in a circle because it has no idea what it's like doing. Haven't we done enough now?
3% of our military military budget would eliminate hunger in the world, not just in the U.S., but in the world.
There's another restructuring that needs to be addressed. It's fundamental, besides the International Court of Justice and the UN structure. That is the structure by which the American public has supported wars from the very beginning to this day, and that is its interventionist, capitalistic basis. As we proceed, corporations are still in control and gain more control as we speak. Even in the industrialized nations of Europe, they prevent pharmaceutical companies from advertising on the TV during mainstream hours for drugs. Our corporations have bought and paid for our interventions abroad, the self-serving politicians that represent us. We see the epitome of corporate control in our president today. And we need to address that fundamental cancer that is corporations controlling the vitality of our nation, the interventions of us abroad, and the demoralization and apathy that results from this. We have hope if we take it, and we have ways to correct if we work for it. But to assume someone else is going to do it for you, that the corporations will stand aside and individual interest and communal interest will be maintained is naive at best.
Is there some way that you can see where students may begin to join with this militarism and the connection between killing abroad and killing at home? Right? You see that?
Yeah, I think one thing that we have to get out of our heads, because ever since we've been young, we've been at war. Ever since we've
I've been young, we've been
yeah. So for all of us, we've all been alive and never had a time of peace. And the United States spends more than $700 billion a year on war making and weapons. So we can see how our lawmakers' addiction to weapons at home, which we're fighting against now, carries over to international relations with this war. So I think definitely what you were saying with the gun swap is something that we'll take an initiative on, talking to those supermarkets and things like that.
When you talk to young people, can you bring that point up, that there is a connection between our willingness to kill people around the world, right?
Yeah.
And the training of ROTC and junior ROTC. We're lucky that we don't have a lot of that here, but there are virtually thousands of schools in this United States where the NRA actually has firing ranges and teach young people. And of course, the young man who killed the people down at Parkland, he was in the junior ROTC, right? And was an expert guy on firing range. But the statistics indicate people in the military have a very large portion of mass killings in the United States. You can check the stats out yourself and see the connection. That is suppressed pretty much because in American life, the soldier is the hero, right? He's been idolized.
Yeah.
You guys, if you can get away from that point, you're really coming a long way.